Hello again. Well, hard as it may believe, we're one-fifth of the way through the course. We're starting Module 2. By now you've looked at the two-part video, and I can't help but bask in one of the greatest experiences I've had for a number of years. Some of the background noise happens to be my 21-month-old great-granddaughter, and I work with my grandson to make these videos, and she likes to be around. So if you get a little background, she's a delightful kid. You would probably enjoy getting to know her. But that's not going to happen. There she was. She said hi. Okay. Now, she wants to know what's going on. Okay. By now you have a strong conceptual framework for what a budget is. And we haven't said a lot about finance, so we're going to. This is largely going to talk about what happens on a day-to-day, week-to-week, quarterly to quarterly, because that's one of the times that we do the most assessment of our budgets. Now, some schools are more structured than that. Some do it on a monthly basis. I serve on the board of a nonprofit organization that gets funding from the county, from the state, and from probably a half a dozen federal agencies. Now, at every board meeting, which happens monthly, we end up with, with a report on the budget, which I think is a little over long in the meeting. We don't need to see it every month unless there is some sort of serious issue. And that's why that first set of, PowerPoint slides for this particular module are very important, because that is almost a day-to-day walkthrough of what you will do. And it would be at different levels with different sort of feeder points, whether the feeder points went horizontally or vertically. If you're a vice president, obviously they would go probably predominantly the president, and maybe on a quarterly basis to the board. If you're a dean or a director, that would probably go to whatever vice president you report to. And if you are a department head, the next step down is it would go to your dean or director, and from there it would move on and so forth. But the bottom line is, if you can stay on top of those sorts of things, you are going to stay on top of your budget. And as I indicated in the longer video, the new world of computers, we used to do budgets in a journal. If any of you have parents, or maybe even grandparents, who have anything to do with accounting, they will tell you about making journal entries by hand. That has not been done for decades. But anyway, the computer's there. The director of finance for the institution, who usually reports to the vice president, enters the data that he or she gets, sometimes as often as weekly, often not quite that long, or not quite that often. Okay, Barr and McClellan are pretty helpful here, because they try to tell you all the kinds of things that you should be looking at and gathering data on. And you should be keeping two sets of files. One set of files is a short time set of files, things that are happening week to week, month to quarter. And the others are more long term. These are the things that you're going to keep track of, because starting, as I told you in that other video, you have normally 2 fiscal years. You normally have the July 1, June 30, or you have September 1 to August 31. The ones you keep the file there as you get ready, as it gets closer and closer to July 1, and you have to start building the new budget. So those kinds of things are very, very important. You need to be rather well versed in where all of that is going. As I said, the PowerPoint is designed to be your kind of your rule of thumb there. I think the other article there is a very useful one. You got a lot of the articles on PowerPoint. I'm sorry. You have a lot of the articles on Blackboard from that New Directions for Community Colleges. I am not as comfortable. I'm an old guard type person. I want to have that book in my hand. We listed it as a requirement, but at the same time, as we told you, any course that you take that's online is always a work in progress. And so we did not make you buy the book, but we did show you how you could get it And we put the articles you need online. But I would think as you get ready, you won't necessarily take comprehensive exams in the master's program, but you will take them when you move up the ladder. And we're encouraging all of you to move up the ladder, either in the Morgan doctoral programs, the EDD, or the PhD. We have both. Or with one of the other schools that might be available to you. Frankly, we think we do a better job than the others do. So I would not make it a big thing for you to look around. There's nothing quite that good unless, and I would encourage you, if you are working for, say, a Coppin, or you're working for a university college, or even the University of Maryland itself, and you're ready to move to the doctorate, be sure you talk to your supervisor to determine how much your employer will pay, because these things are not cheap. Okay. Now, one of the other things that I'm always interested in is that you begin to plan. When we bring someone into our doctoral program, the very first thing we tell them is keep a long-term file. If you have a general idea what you might want to write, your final paper, lovingly called the dissertation. If you have a general idea you want to work in, any article that you have found relevant or interesting or helpful, you ought to make a note. And so you know exactly where it came from, so you can get it. The worst thing in the world is getting ready to put your proposal together to go to your committee, and all of a sudden something is critical you can't find. Okay, enough about that. We're not doing that exactly. This is a good time to talk about this. I will, from time to time, be sending you other readings. There'll probably be one with this. There's a gentleman with National Council on Higher Education Management Systems that I have a great deal of regard for. You'll probably be getting his at about the same time you're reading this, just like you got the issues with Module 1. These are a way to keep you apprised of the day-to-day real world. Written things are fine, but even unless you're doing them strictly with an online type of blog system, what you get is older. Things have passed beyond where you were. And so to make a long story short, by sending you some things that I think are relevant, it will help you build toward the crescendo of your course. Okay, that brings me to the important thing of that crescendo. If you remember, we indicated it would be helpful by using the course syllabus to skim through the 5 modules, just have kind of an idea of where they're going. The last module, Module 5, is a synthesizing module. It's a chance for you to show me how much you have garnered from the course. You've got a couple of opportunities. The first opportunity is it's in Module 5. You could take a look at 2 different systems. Nothing wrong with that. Part of the reason I gave you the 2-part tape in Module 1 is because Maryland has a particular type of system. I think I mentioned in that tape that states like North Carolina and Virginia have very different systems. It might be to your advantage to take a look at those. Another thing you could do, something of a more micro, the Community College of Baltimore City, or Baltimore City Community College, they call it both, is not the same as any of the other 15 systems. They are more of a direct state line institution. There's a lot of history there, and maybe sometime when you're in the doctoral program, you might get a chance to look at that. But you could compare, if you're using your mentor, you'll get a copy of the mentor material with this module. But if your mentor happens to be working at one of the more traditional community colleges, compared to Baltimore might be interesting. Something else that's always interesting, if you want to do a micro comparison, say with in-state, would be to take one of the smaller Maryland community colleges, like a Garrett or an Allegheny, or possibly even a Carroll, though Carroll is growing quite well, and compare it to a, shall we say, Montgomery, or to community colleges, plural, of Baltimore County. Or, seems to me there's one other Chesapeake. Now, Chesapeake is a one-institution system, but they also serve 5 separate counties, which means that their budgets are presented to each of those counties. Remember, I did make the comment regarding what happened with my colleague from New Jersey when he was in Pennsylvania, but enough about that. The main thing I want you to do is to be thinking now. Be thinking about which of these variety of synthesis projects you will find most attractive. Because if you start thinking about it now and making some of the other stuff that you turn in or the questions you put on the discussion board related to that sort of thing, when the time comes to write that 6 to 8 page final paper, it will not be a big challenge. Well, that pretty much is what I have to say in terms of substance. Procedurally, I'm quite happy. Things are going well. You have not, it doesn't seem to me you've not gotten lost. At least the questions I've been getting tell me you haven't. The questions you've raised on the discussion board have been first rate. So keep on with the good work. And as we've discovered, several of you have discovered, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of, and I enjoy talking with you. And I tell you, as you know now, I tell you every week when I'm going to be on campus. If you are local and you want to stop in, coffee's always hot. Love to see you. Thank you.